Welcome, I'm Jackson Bell.
And I'm Tamara Bell.
And you're listening to our podcast, Talking Movies with My Mom, where I, talk about movies with my mom. And just so you know, there will be spoilers. Alrighty, let's just jump into it. So, today, we're talking about reality TV, specifically for those of us who haven't been keeping up with it. If you want to be part of that national conversation around these shows, but don't know where to start, you're in luck. To help us navigate through the good, the bad, and the ugly is Brent Montgomery, CEO of Wheelhouse Entertainment, which, according to its website, is content, commerce, culture, and community.
But in the name of transparency, we have to say that Brent is a family friend. And this actually isn't the first time that Brent's agreed to talk to us about reality TV. He spoke to Moody College students almost a decade ago during an evening with Brent Montgomery. Do you remember that, Brent?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah. And okay, so now listen, you're not going to believe this, but a few weeks ago when I was cleaning off my bookshelf, I found the introduction I gave for you that night. It's right here.
It's too long.
My God. No. But here's the thing. I want to read some of this because actually it is as true today as it was then. Okay. So here's part of your intro. Ready? Brent Montgomery started his journey as a journalism major at Texas A&M. He interned at KBTX, the CBS affiliate in College Station, where he met a young reporter, my sister. And he's been a good friend ever since. So over the years, I kept up with Brent through family and friends. But I'll let him tell you how he went from conducting Man on the Street segments at KBTX to founding one of the most successful reality TV production companies in the country. I would rather introduce him by what he would never tell you, what he is too humble to tell you. For in a business where 9 out of 10 people are in it for themselves, Brent is that one who is universally known for being generous with his time, energy, and talent. He is compassionate, supportive, good-hearted, fearless, smart, and hilarious. But what's most important for us tonight is that he truly wants to help others find and then fulfill their passions. He loves helping people succeed. So with that, it is my honor to introduce Brent Montgomery. Right?
Woo! Woo! Yeah.
I think that was like to thunderous applause. Of course, not for what I just said, but you were then coming up on the stage and students were like, woo!
No, thanks y'all for such a nice introduction. It's always fun to talk to Texans and get back to my roots. And yes, your sister, Polly Bell, was really one of the people who inspired me early in my career. She, did what a lot of people wanted to do out of a small TV station and moved to a big one, actually up in Hartford, Connecticut, where she was an anchor for quite some time and continues to be a dear friend and was one of a couple of people that really pushed me to move up to the Northeast, which was a lifetime ago. Right out of going, I went from College Station to Brooklyn, which was quite the 180 of all places. But I loved every minute of both those places. And now I'm a father of 3 kids, so a lot's happened in my last 10 years since we last spoke.
Yes, it has. But that was like in 2014, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what have you been doing since then?
So I sold my business in 2014, actually, and that business was called Left Field Entertainment. We created shows, Pawn Stars, Alone, both of which are now on Netflix in addition to History Channel and still are both going a decade later. And then we invested in other companies, including the company behind Real Housewives of New Jersey and a lot of those crazy shows on Discovery ID. I think we did one called Wives with Knives or something like that. But
I love that show.
Yeah. So I sold my business to a company called ITV out of the UK and then ran their American operation, which was awesome. It included we had Cake Boss, we had Duck Dynasty, we had the show right up the road from y'all, Fixer Upper. And then we launched right before I left ITV, Queer Eye on Netflix, which became really their first big non-scripted / reality show and has won many Emmys since then. But in 2018, I decided to try to do it all over again. And this time I decided to partner up with somebody more famous, which wasn't hard, but Jimmy Kimmel. And Our new company is called Wheelhouse, and it's got Wheelhouse Entertainment, as Jackson mentioned, Wheelhouse Labs, which is our marketing division. We do work with some of the biggest and best companies and brands in the world. And then we have an investing arm. We invest in tech and consumer companies that we effectively think we can add a lot of value to by introducing to our network of athletes, entertainers, and do TV shows around. So every day is different, but they're mostly fun. And I love just really backing people that are really good at something and they're really good at a bunch of things. It just makes it even more fun.
That is amazing. And we're going to get into more of all of that. But first, I just want to start kicking off our discussion today with just a brief history of reality TV and emphasis on brief.
Right.
Reality TV started becoming a thing in the 1970s with An American Family in 1973. Real People popped up in 79. And of course, Cops bulldozed its way into American culture in 1989. But then came 1992. And while, I don't have concrete stats for this, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that nobody over the age of 50 hasn't heard about, watched at least an episode of, or been obsessed with The Real World. The show's tagline said it was about finding out what happens, quote, when people stop being polite and start getting real. And it ushered in a new era of reality TV. Now, as someone who hasn't watched a lot of reality TV since then.
Same here. Like the only time I've seen reality TV was for class assignments.
So we're going to start with like a simple question. Okay. What have we missed?
Well, it's funny. We are trying to reboot An American Family, which was, you're right, it was the first one. And then Real World really was a defining game changer. My buddy, John Murray, it was John Murray and a woman, Mary Ellen Bunham, who passed away a while back, but she was in the soap opera world and he was a journalist. And that really is sort of exactly what that fly on the wall show created. And it really introduced some of the most interesting characters and stories that weren't on television. I think, you think about what some of those characters did for the gay community or did for, communities that were unrepresented demographics or ethnicities. And it really just, I think this is why there's such a fascination for unscripted. We usually call it unscripted or nonfiction, is because truth is stranger than fiction. And I think in a world where authenticity is sort of not always present, it's really interesting to see authentic people. And so, we're seeing the next wave of this, of course, now with the creator and influencer world. And a lot of content being watched, of course, on telephones that are being created directly by the folks who are putting it out there. But yeah, what have you missed? I think, I got my start closer to 98, 99. I worked on The Bachelor. And it was really 2001 where things took off. The Bachelor, The Apprentice wasn't long behind that. I worked on Wife Swap, and these shows quickly got higher ratings than most of the more expensive shows on television, and really defined culture at that point in a lot of different ways. And then I got my big break right around the next wave, which was 2009, when we had Pawn Stars come out, Jersey Shore came out, our other show, New Jersey Housewives, came out, and then that really carried through the world. So people like Jackson, who probably never paid for cable, it's where the highest rated shows that were there for a while. And now, of course, it's all streaming, or it's a lot of streaming, and you can get all sorts of great content, scripted, non-scripted, on most of these platforms.
What do you suggest a newbie start when it comes to getting into reality shows?
I think there's so many good documentaries on right now. We do a lot of these documentaries or docu-series that really allow you to go deep on one thing. And I think that's why podcasts have taken off so much. It's like we just did a 6-part series on something called American Gladiators, which was a big phenomenon back in the day. We just did one on the podcast Smartless, where we followed Jason Bateman and Sean Hayes and Will Arnett across the country and gave a real insight.
Okay, wait a minute. That was you?
It was one of our companies, yes.
Oh my God.
Oh, really?
I binge watched that on Max one night. I'm like, oh, Smartless. I like Smartless. I couldn't stop. I had to watch the entire thing in one sitting. I couldn't stop watching it.
Yeah, they're the most fascinating guys. And yes, Jason Bateman can only poop if he's going to take a shower right after, but those are usually in the morning. You just learn more than you probably ever wanted to know about these characters.
Oh, for sure. But it was fascinating. Like you couldn't turn away from it.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, we you know, if you're our age, you grew up on Jason Bateman and you've seen him at every different step of his career and he's beloved, but you don't really know Jason.
Right. No, I don't know him. Until
you hear him on Smartless, and then you see him here, you know, because he's such a fascinating and interesting and quirky, funny. He's so funny. So I think there's, if you like, you know, we call it lean in or lean out, right? Like I think a lot of people watch Real Housewives so they can really feel good about their own lives, and that's one thing. I think other people watch, you know, if you're in any way, shape, or form handy, or you know, you might want to watch cooking shows, and you may want to take what you learn there and apply it to cooking. I mean, I think we're seeing all these DIY worlds off YouTube now and TikTok, really, and you know, create a lot of at-home chefs. If you want to get into real estate, you can learn quite a bit about real estate through, you know, shows like we have Buying Beverly Hills on Netflix, where it's a family-run real estate agency. And then sports. I mean, I think some of the best stuff right now on any television of any type of genre is, you know, is Quarterback on Netflix.
Yes.
Hard Knocks on Max. These are just really entertaining. Drive to Survive on Netflix. So there's something I think for everybody. And you know, I think like for me, I like to read nonfiction, but I like to watch a lot of fiction. So it's just a nice kind of counterbalance to actually watch stuff that is based in real life too, and mix it up. And then, you know, we did the WeWork documentary, and there was a scripted version too, and I think a lot of people watch both.
Yeah,
it's fun to see.
I did.
Yeah, you get to see what they really look like and how they really acted, and then you get to see them acted out by some of the best actors in the world, who I thought did a great job. So yeah, there's a lot of different places. I mean, you can go. What's great now is you can go watch shows. My kids like Fear Factor, which is 20 years old. I don't know. They just want to watch people eat disgusting bugs.
You want to see Joe Rogan with hair.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, Joe Rogan's a great example. Yeah, I remember watching him on a scripted show, discovering him there. And then, of course, he came back as a reality show host. And now he's, you know, the most popular podcaster there is.
Right. So according to Google, there are a gazillion genres, subgenres, and subcategories of genres of reality TV. How do you define reality TV? And has that definition changed over the years?
Yeah, I think that I think, you know, we used to see a lot of the stuff be produced, meaning, you know, plot lines would be sort of semi-scripted out. You could kind of see the puppet strings, maybe in some cases. I think the audience grew a little bit tired of that and wanted to see more authentic stuff. I was very excited when we created Alone, because we leave these people out there to self-document their experience. And you can't get any more authentic than that show. And this was before everybody was, you know, shooting themselves on telephones. I think the audience, to your question, there's game shows, there's challenge shows, there's over-the-top formats, there's crazy dating shows. There are a bunch of different genres, but I think much like, you know, scripted television, there's certainly, you know, you got comedies, there's stuff that's meant to be comedic and is. You've got, you know, real sort of shows that are focused on a male demographic, shows that are focused on a female demographic, or shows that are family friendly. You know, a fun show to watch for people with young kids is Lego Masters. And so, you know, there's a lot of ingenuity that you will see if that's what you're looking for. Again, if you want to watch Bravo and be just entertained. You know, there's probably not as much ingenuity there as survival mode amongst those ladies.
Yeah. And so I think that you kind of hit on something there where it does kind of seem that, you know, maybe from the earliest days of unscripted, it just almost kind of seemed like it was more like people behaving badly and screaming at each other kind of shows. But today it seems like it's more about what restaurateur David Chang says when he talks about doing something big and creative that brings value and joy to the world. And if you're wondering where I pulled that, that's actually from a July article in Variety about how Chang has struck a production deal with you and Jimmy Kimmel. I was really kind of just curious about, how do you think storytelling, because you kind of touched on this a little bit, how do you think storytelling has evolved in unscripted shows to bring more value and joy to the world? Or do you think that it's more just like really a work in progress right now?
No, I think there's a lot of fun stuff that your kids, you know, can watch. There's a show called Is It Cake? And, you know, the cleverness, you know, I think about Project Runway, and I'm not a fashion driven guy or somebody that would naturally think about watching a show like that. But I've just seen so many incredible things happen on that show.
I love that show, by the way.
Yeah, one day they were given a tent. Each person had a tent, and they had to turn it into a dress. And I think you're seeing more and more of that, like with David Chang, who's, you know, arguably the most influential chef of the last decade. Certainly the one that, besides Gordon Ramsay, who's done a good bit of television, I guess, besides Bobby Flay and Guy Fieri. But Chang's been really across both media and restaurants and defined some of the culinary trends. You know, with our first show with him, it's called Secret Chef. It's on Hulu. He wanted to have a show where the participants weren't judged by chefs. They were judged by each other, which meant we had to build 10 kitchens, which is a lot of kitchens.
That is a lot.
But Hulu helped us out with that. And so I think it did bring joy and fun to see these guys not really belittled by judges, but instead inspiring one another and really trying to figure out who was who, because there's a lot of gameplay in that respect. But yeah, there's a, you know, we tend to make shows we think that and hope make people smarter. And I think it's always fun if people can laugh and learn a little bit along the way.
Now, Brent, what are the key ingredients for a compelling unscripted story? What makes it stand out? What makes it super engaging?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's a clever concept, right? Like The Voice, you know, came up with the idea of really having them listen before they see them and turn the chairs around. And that's not a whole show, but it's a clever sort of in-show format element, and people like to see elements that they remember. You know, I think The Apprentice did a good job early on of showing us something that showed what it would be like in a competitive working real life situation, even if it was over the top. And I shoot, I'm blanking on. There's another show I was going to mention, but yeah, there's just really fun ways and elements. I think. Sorry, I was going to say characters. Characters is sort of the hallmark of these type of shows, because if you think about scripted television, your writer and your actor are two different people usually. In our world, the on-camera Snooky or Puck are both the writer of what they're about to say coming out of their head, and sometimes they don't think about it before it comes out of their mouth. But they're also the on-camera person, right? So they play that dual role. And so casting them, you know, finding the Pawn Stars, finding the right characters to sit inside our show alone is so integral to the success of those shows. And I think a really compelling element that'll pull you from one episode to the next is also important. You know, when you watch a lot of shows now, scripted or unscripted, you're watching them on a streamer and they just kick in one after another. So a successful show has to give you enough reason to watch that next episode.
Since you've been doing this for a while now, not saying you're old or anything, what do you know now that you wish you did know when you started out in reality TV?
Well, I do feel old, but that's more for therapy than anything else. Now, I think I share a lot. I think what I know now is it's I think best to not skip any steps. I don't think that's how I felt going through it, because it was long and tedious and hard. And my 20s, were spent first in college working overnights, and then in New York working nights and weekends. But I think getting those different skill sets, from being able to edit my own stuff, to being able to shoot my own stuff, to be able to producing. And ironically, like my daughter and son now put out content, edit content. They're 8 and 10. And the 5-year-old.
Oh my God.
Yeah. 5-year-old's not that far behind them.
Okay, so I gotta ask though, what kind of content are they actually creating?
Well, my daughter has 70,000 followers on something called Zigazoo,
What?
which is a sort of a safer version of TikTok for kids. I'm just seeing if I have one to show you real quick.
Zigazoo.
That sounds like a PBS kid show.
Yeah.
Coming up, Zigazoo.
Yeah, they definitely kids like stuff that sounds ridiculously funny or cute. But yeah, she's putting out little snippets that she'll ask her followers to react to, and so she may just be saying, "Hey, I'm in London and I'm touring the Palace. Have you ever been to England, or what's your favorite country, or whatever?" And then kids just all sort of react. And it's stuff like that I would be bored with in 12 minutes, but kids can do it a lot. But she knows how to use iMovie. She knows how to edit together our family vacations.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think what mattered when I was in my early 20s, when I was getting my start, and what matters now moving forward are probably going to be different. I think having something that is creative and is sort of in that 0 to 1, because AI is going to really fill in a good bit of sort of the stuff that we've traditionally done ourselves. So I think any element of being creative and being sort of something a computer can't replicate, which is getting harder and harder.
Now, it would be impossible for reality TV beginners to view each and every single show available today. I mean, there's thousands of reality shows from all around the world. So what show or couple of shows should we focus on? What are some that you sort of recommend to newbies?
I think it's really fun to probably take down a couple of classics. The Bachelor is just, it's so ridiculous that these women, or on The Bachelor, these men believe they're really going to find true love through the television show. But I think everybody's kind of in on the joke, and it's sort of over the top. I think you would need to take down a few episodes of Housewives, just because it really replaced soap operas about a decade ago. I think if you like history, there's really great shows on the History Channel that are both sort of present day, but also focus on the past. It's got to start with sort of what your individual interests are. But I do, I always say my favorite show that we've ever done is Alone, because it's so unique and different than anything else out there. That being said, I love my friend's show, Naked and Afraid. I used to work for these guys, and they did a show called Blind Date back before, and often people would get naked on that show at the end, and they just reversed the formula here and started them out naked. But I do think, like, for me and other people, like, the psychology that goes into some of these performance related non-scripted reality shows is most interesting.
Yeah. And now, didn't you tell us, I think back when we had our evening with Brent Montgomery a decade ago, about one of your earlier incidents on, what was it? I think you were working The Bachelor, and one of the women wanted to be blonde or something like that.
Yeah, not my most proud moment in my career. Yeah, no, we were responsible, each producer, for 4 or 5 women, and sort of helping produce their storylines. And one was very upset that she thought our Bachelor only liked blondes, and she was a brunette. And being the idiot that I am, I didn't really understand the process of dyeing someone's hair. So I suggested it, and one of the producers says, that's great. And because I think he's going to dump her later that night, which of course I did not feel good about if she was going to then change to dye her hair. But I thought maybe she'd have a shot at it working. But the rest unfortunately did not work out. But she's since found romance, and life is fine.
That's good to know.
Right. So there are happy endings beyond what happens once the cameras are off. There are happy endings.
Yeah, I think what's really incredible for entrepreneurial talent who go on these shows, some of the biggest names to come out of American Idol didn't win the show,
right?
But they captured culture and really launched incredible careers off of it. Guy Fieri won, I forget what the name of the show is now, but it was so long ago, but he won that show, and then he became maybe the most successful reality star of all time. And certainly Bethany Frankel and other people have done quite well off of getting their starts on these shows. And I think that's not going to change anytime soon. You're seeing it now with TikTok creators and everybody else using storytelling to sort of move commerce and move product and build brands and businesses. I think celebrities are brands now. So I don't think it's going anywhere.
Now, what shows are you currently working on that you're allowed to talk about?
Right. We don't want you to bust through any NDAs or anything like that.
A couple of our shows with Netflix just got picked up. One of them to second seasons. One of them is with Peyton Manning. It's on a company called Golden Auctions, where the main guy has been at the intersection of collectibles and celebrity for quite some time. So in season 1, we shot with Drake, Joe Montana, Mike Tyson, Logan Paul, Karl Malone. And so season 2, we expect to be pretty stacked. And then the show Buying Beverly Hills, which is about this firm called The Agency in Los Angeles. They've got every 2 episodes, a new daughter comes in to work at the firm.
So wait a minute, how many daughters do they have?
They've got a bunch. Not sure if we'll have all of them there at the same time. And then what else do we have cooking? We've got a show right now with Johnny Knoxville.
Oh wow!
It's called Prank Panel on ABC.
Wait a minute. That's on network TV.
Yeah, ABC.
Okay. Because I'm just curious, because Johnny Knoxville doesn't really strike me as somebody who could be on network TV-ness.
Well, let's just say you weren't quite that far off. Johnny is an extremely talented guy who pushes envelopes, and
yes,
it also airs on Hulu. So, but yes, it was. I would say it was a little less octane than Johnny usually has, but less nudity, certainly.
Okay.
I was gonna say, like, hey kids, we're gonna see the new Johnny Knoxville show on ABC, and the first prank's him like getting naked.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe season 2 if the listen to it. Yeah, and then so we've got a big show with the WWE, 2 of their biggest stars that's going to be on Hulu. Yeah, we've always have a ton of shows. We just completed shooting a show that will air on Roku with Sofia Vergara, the actress from Modern Family, amongst other things. Yeah, and then I'm leaving off probably 20 other projects, but lots of, our whole thing is you got to take a lot of shots on goal. So we've got, for every TV show we probably had 10 other ideas that didn't make it that far. So you have to have these creative teams that are just constantly trying to figure out what's next. And then when you finally have a hit, you can expand with, turn into a franchise and spinoffs and everything else.
Now, you've brought up some reality shows that you recommended, but personally, what are your top 3 favorite reality shows besides the one you would work on? Because that's cheating.
And I have to just throw in, why are they your top 3 favorites? Because, think of this as like an essay.
Yeah, listen, obviously, our former president is one of the more polarizing people in the world. But I really liked that show at the time. I think everybody in New York City didn't take Trump that seriously because he owed most of them money. But it was really fun as somebody who wanted to be entrepreneurial to see these other folks compete. So that was one of probably my top three. There was shoot, I'm gonna forget the name of small town sheriff or small town cops or something like that. That was just one of the more cleverly produced shows, I thought. Small Town Security, I think. Anyway, I forget what the exact name of it was. But it was on AMC back in the day.
Okay.
And then there was a ridiculous one that I really liked too, that was a long time ago, where William Shatner went and pulled an entire prank on a small, I think, Iowa town and played an exaggerated ass version of his real self. And he just stuck with it, and it was pretty funny. So I kind of like stuff like that. That's maybe a little bit under the radar, but a little bit off the beaten path. There's so many, I could watch Cops, some of the more traditional shows as well, but those are a few.
What do you think unscripted or reality TV as a whole, what do you think they will look like in the next 30 years? Do you think there will be some major changes, some big improvements, or maybe it just goes downhill, or maybe it's just exactly the same?
Goes downhill. That's the one, Jackson. This just goes downhill.
No, I think there'll be a lot of changes as the world's just changing, moving faster than it ever has because of technology and the fact the whole world's connected. I think we're seeing a lot of what's popular now. We work a lot with this guy, Mark Rober, who's one of the bigger YouTubers, who's a former NASA engineer and Apple designer. And he did this thing called the glitter bomb. And our partner, Kimmel, had him on his show when he had 100,000 followers. And now he gets 60, 70 million views. And he puts out these incredible 20-minute videos that he works a couple months on that are as good or better than anything on TV. And so I think more of that, excuse me, I get choked up when I talk about Mark. I think more talent getting a direct audience. It's just like stuff became direct to consumer and fashion and other industries. And so I think that will continue to happen. And I think it's a reflection, reality or unscripted is a reflection of what's happening in society. It's about spotting trends, but also just putting a mirror up. So wherever, we're headed, I think, non-scripted television will generally follow.
Well, yeah, great answer.
Oh, thank you. Once, even a broken clock's right twice a day.
So it's not going down. It's going to stay, and it's going to just get even, more so.
Kids now want to see what real people are doing. Usually their friends and others. I do think there's a big movement now for this immersive experience. My kids build these worlds in Minecraft and Roblox and all this other stuff. And so how will that really manifest itself in reality or unscripted is going to be interesting as well. So I can see that being a bigger part of the future than it is the past.
Now, speaking of kids, what reality show can you not wait to share with your children when they're older?
Well, it's always good if I can share it with them now. And so that's been a lot of fun, either watching shows that we produced or shows that I just think are good for kids. I know I want to show them a lot of scripted, rated R movies that I can't show them now. I haven't really thought about unscripted, but yeah, there's probably a few of my shows that they can't watch, but not too many. Most of them are family friendly.
I mean, just some of them might have a little bit more adult content, not necessarily that it's explicit in any way, but just a little bit more adult content than they're ready for at this age.
Yeah, no, listen, my 8-year-old likes Pawn Stars. He likes Alone. And so I think there's fun stuff that we can show them. But yeah, to your point, Paul, Tammy, Get my sisters confused. To your point,
my mom does too. She gets us confused all the
Yeah.
time.
to your point, yeah, there's just some material that's above their heads, but
Right.
they're so savvy now. I mean, because of technology, that there's not a whole lot above their heads, unfortunately.
I mean, I'm still just kind of stuck on the fact that your daughter has like 70,000 followers or whatever she has on the net. I'm like, my God.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, she's an influencer right now.
Yeah, I guess, but we don't let her go on TikTok or Instagram or any things that are a little bit less protected. Yeah, but I think it's important for people to find their voice and gain confidence and have some fun with it. But anyway, it can also go the wrong direction.
I mean, it can, but I'm glad that you're not like basically so afraid of it going in the wrong direction that you're pulling her back from something that she clearly enjoys doing.
Yeah, we put her, it's funny, we put her on one TV show and I really loved it because they cut her out, she was just in the background and extra. And I'm like, that's right, like, nothing's guaranteed in life.
Get used to it.
Yep.
You're just snipped right out of that show.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. So is there anything that we basically haven't asked that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that they didn't ask this question about reality TV because we just don't, again, we're, newbies at this. Is there something that we didn't ask you about that you're like, this is what you really need to know?
Yeah, I mean, there was, reality TV, the term wasn't really coined, I don't think until 2000. And it certainly wasn't a real industry. Most of the stuff was on MTV or it had, some snippets of what old television used to be like. But so myself and many of my contemporaries didn't really want to get into reality TV as a career, but sort of just naturally landed there. And I think, for creative people who want to be really storytellers, there's so many fun, different mediums. And I think non-scripted reality and, telling real people's stories can be very rewarding. And there's a lot of, it's a real industry. And so I wouldn't, I think a lot of times for us, it's about finding great intellectual property, whether that's a book, magazine article, access or talent, and then trying to find out what's the best medium for telling that story. Is it a podcast, a TV show, a film, non-scripted, scripted, or all the above? So I think it's and certainly as you get into influencer and creator world, it's just another extension of sort of how you get stuff out there, and it all kind of markets itself. So I was a journalist, and so I think reality TV is just a natural extension of that. You're curious, you're going out, you're telling different stories. I remember speaking in with your class, and I remember asking everybody to raise their hands, and there were a lot of publicists there.
Right.
And I said, I made a bold prediction that there was going to be a bigger need for PR and HR in the next decade, and that these kids would be well positioned because I think they were kind of down around that time with sort of the job market. And
right.
And I think that's certainly the case. People are getting blown up and PR is good for offense and defense, and you need both, I think. So I think you guys asked the right questions. I probably gave half the right answers. And just appreciate being included.
No, not at all. That was really very helpful. When we came up with this idea for this episode, we were like, oh my God, we have to have a complete expert on how to actually, figure this out for those of us, because we can't be the only ones who don't know. Right. And so I think that you have definitely given us I'm taking notes on like what shows I'm supposed to be watching now. So thank you very much. I'm like going to add it to my Netflix queue right away.
Nice. Love that. Well, listen, thank you very much. And you know where I am if you need me.
Indeed, Brent. And on that note, thank you so much, Brent, for being the first guest on our podcast. And thank you, listeners, for tuning into the show. Until next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media or leave a rating and review.
And as always, you can head over to talkingmovieswithmymom.com to sign up to our email list, as well as check out all the links and resources from today's episode in the show notes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.